Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part number 5 of the Unsung Heroes of 2026, taking a look at the Glendale Supercross and all of the underdogs who qualified for the main event. I am Trey Stire, your host. Thank you for joining me wherever you may be listening from: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, iHeart Radio. Be sure to spread the word about this show as we cover the top underdogs of the sport and shine a spotlight on those who are grinding and trying to continue rising and to continue their success. I am Trey Stire, your host. We will get into things right away, starting, of course, with the 250 division. And once again, Club MX Yamaha on top of the privateer rankings. Maximus Voland and Hunter Yoder, 6th and 7th on the night, sporting some DBK gear this weekend with their fly racing deal. Of course, Twitch's brand being represented on the big stage. Pretty cool to see that. And Voland, another heat race win, his second of the season. Was a strong ride for Maximus, worked his way up toward the lead, pushed and held Levi Kitchen behind him. Both men got around Lux Turner, but it was Voland taking his second heat race win of the night. The order started the way Anaheim 2 finished a couple weeks ago. Voland was running in 5th position, but he ended up getting moved back by Kitchen pushing through the field. Great ride from Levi Kitchen, by the way. Just behind Voland, his teammate Hunter Yoder, third week in a row that he has been in 7th place. Career best finish, once again tying it. Hunter Yoder, man, I think he's going to be reaching that top 5 range pretty soon. He keeps knocking on the door, and I think it was a better performance in terms of pace and sticking with the lead pack. He was right there behind his teammate Voland this weekend. Plus, he was able to beat Max Anstey straight up by a couple of seconds, and that's a huge deal, being able to beat the Star Yamaha guy on a privateer or non-factory Yamaha. So awesome weekend again for the Club MX guys. Speaking of matching career best finishes, I know that's been a theme lately. Avery Long on the AEO Power Sports KTM, ninth place, matched his effort from Anaheim 1. Solid day for the number 57. He had a couple down weekends, but he traded places with Parker Ross during the main event. P9 for the sophomore, and speaking of sophomores in the top 10, Parker Ross, 5th career top 10 and 3rd in a row. Great performance once again for Parker. He was trading places, like I said, with Avery Long. Got up front in his heat race, even though it was short lived, clipped a tough block, went down. But Parker keeps stacking top 10 in points. If he stays healthy, he keeps racking up good results. I think he's going to be an SMX playoff qualifier once again this year. Parker Ross, man, great start to his career, and he just continues to build, continues to stack good results. Toyota Redlands Bar X Yamaha had another guy sitting in 11th, Lux Turner, matching his best result of the year once again. It was a better night for Lux. He looked faster in qualifying, got out front in his heat race, a 1-2 start from the Bar X team. Huge for those guys. And Lux led several laps in his heat race, was pacing the field, seemed to get a little tight or a little hesitant out there toward the end of the race, started losing ground and eventually got passed by Maximus Voland and Levi Kitchen. But for him to go out there and lead laps, of course, he's been continuing to recover from his wrist injuries at the Australian Supercross, the AusX Open, I should say, round of the Australian Supercross. And I sound like a broken record when I mention it every week, but I don't think we're seeing Lux at his full potential yet. I think he is going to be a force to be reckoned with a little later in the season, and Glendale was a huge step in the right direction for the number 43. Just behind him, the number 224 from Grindstone Freezing Group, Kawasaki. Josh Varese, once again, another top 15 finish. Solid, quiet night for Josh, but another 10 points to his total. And behind him, returning to the main event after withdrawing from Houston due to a practice crash, it was Robbie Wageman aboard his Heartbeat Hot Sauce Nano Extreme Yamaha powered by Ty Lube machine. And for Robbie, He was pulling double duty this weekend. Raced the AMA Arena Cross event in Prescott Valley, Arizona on Friday night, then went to Glendale and raced the Supercross. He was on the podium for AMA Arena Cross, 13th place in the main event for Supercross as he returned to action. He was last early in the going, but he kept moving, and he was one of the biggest movers during the race, jumping 9 spots during the contest. Great to see Robbie back in the main event after his crash in Houston. 14th place, second career top 15 finish, 4 main events and 5 starts for the Crockett Rocket this year. Crockett Myers aboard his McGinley Clinic Privateer Support Program, B2 Metal Buildings, Suzuki. Another great night from the 131, stacking starts, stacking points, stacking success. 14th place for Myers. Hopefully he can continue his recent run in Seattle and put the Zook in the main event once again. 15th place, another guy who's been 4 for 5 and pretty quiet but solid this year. Justin Rodbell, winner of Rodbell going on his SLR Honda. And of course, we knew Justin for many years as more of a motocross specialist. He started to refine his craft indoors as well, and now he's 4 for 5 this year. And he was the top Honda, of course. Chance Hymas went out with injury a couple weeks ago. Rod Bell, the top CRF 250R in the field on Saturday night. 16th place, another one of the Team Solitaire guys that pulled double duty. Cole Thompson, who is full time in the AMA Arena Cross Series. He ran Anaheim 2 and Houston on a 450, but he was on the 250 for Glendale and was back in the main event. 16th place, not quite his usual range of main event finishes. He's often an 8 to 12 guy, but Cole Thompson, first main event in Supercross of the year, progress after being the first guy out in both of his 450 class attempts. 17th place from Next Level Racing, 4 for 5 as well. Hunter Schlosser. What a season from Hunter. He has tied his best mark of qualifications. 4 starts in a row. He set that in 2021. Can he make it 5 in a row at Seattle? I think with his recent success, he can. And Hunter's one main event last year was in Seattle in the 450 class. So there's you a little nugget. Expect the 173 to be hovering back in his usual main event range once again. Speaking of next level racing, what a weekend for those guys. Slade Varola was out due to an ankle injury. Of course, we mentioned last week when Slade competed in the main event. He's been dealing with an ankle issue since Anaheim 1, re aggravated it actually in the LCQ at Houston, rode through the main event on it, but decided to take a couple weeks off, make sure he's healed up and ready to go later in the year. But Slade Varola will be skipping Seattle this weekend and skipped Glendale in an effort to get healthy. But the 3 healthy riders for the team, guess what? They were in the main event. Preston Massiangelo, third career main event, second of the year, and he tied his finish from San Diego, 18th place. First time in his career that the Canadian has qualified straight out of his heat race. So step forward for Massiangelo, and of course, the only gas cruising around in the main event. 19th place, Carson Mumford on the AEO Power Sports KTM. Been some ups and downs for Mumford, and man, he was very transparent on his Instagram post recently. He said that he's been struggling with arm pump, struggling with sickness. They found herniated discs in his back as well, plus a fractured scapula that he said he did not know he had. So a lot of issues right now for the number 71, but he's been trying to power through it and said he thanked the team for their support and their help. Mumford says he's starting to feel like himself a little more, although Glendale was a bit of a struggle for him and he went down early. He said he's ready to roll at Seattle. And speaking of course, I mentioned Hunter Schlosser with success at Seattle. Carson Mumford's best career finish in the 250 Supercross division was at Seattle. A 5th place run in 2024 when he competed for the Moto Concepts Racing Honda team. Hopefully, we see Carson Mumford able to fix these health issues and get healed up because we know he's definitely a top 10 level guy frequently and could contend for a top 5 every once in a while if he's able to reach up to that front pack. Couple first-time main event starters this weekend, starting off in 20th place with someone from the Grindstone Freezing Group Kawasaki team, Revin Gordon, first career main event, Atascadero, California represented. Great start in the LCQ both times. Of course, there was a red flag in the LCQ, but Revin Gordon put it in his first main event, scored a couple points, realizing a dream. Of course, the older of two Gordon brothers, Landon currently competing in SMX Next for Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing. Revin, after some struggles last year and earlier this year, he was in position to potentially transfer from Houston, of course, got taken down by Matty Jorgensen in the LCQ. But a week later, fortune reverses. Gordon goes to the main event. Jorgensen DNQs. First career start for Revin. Awesome to see that. Congratulations to the number 425. In 21st place, battling sickness all weekend. He was out there grinding. He still got an LCQ win, 21st in the main event. It showed a little bit. Dealing with some flu-like symptoms was Aiden Shive on his HBI Racing KTM. Obviously not his usual level of pace, but he was still able to get an LCQ win, still able to get in there, and he's another guy. 4 main events in 5 tries this year, 4 in a row after missing Anaheim 1 due to an early LCQ crash. Great to see Aiden back. Hopefully he's feeling a little bit better by the time action hits Lumen Field this weekend. 22nd place, your other brand new main event competitor from Los Banos, California, the third next level racing guy, the number 645, Colby Kopp. It's been a long time coming for him. He's been so close to the main event a couple different times. 450 class, 250 class. He's been knocking on the door for a few years, and finally, he's been trying since 2022, but Colby Kopp was able to qualify for a main event. Fantastic to see him in the show, and for all of the next level racing guys to go up there and put it in the show. Unfortunately, Colby doesn't have a point to show for it, but he was in his first main event, realizing a dream in the show finally. A great step forward from him. He's got a great start in the main event, but unfortunately broke the header pipe on his machine and got a couple laps down early. Great to see Colby in his first career main event. And maybe we can see a couple more first career main event starters in Seattle this weekend. Now to some news and notes from outside the main event and just shy of the main event in both his heat race and the LCQ was Logan Leitzel, who made his return to the Partzilla Rocket PRMX Kawasaki team. Unfortunately, some injuries have taken out the two normal 250 West racers for that operation. Jack Chambers, of course, dropped out after Anaheim 1 with a wrist injury, and Anthony Bourdon, unfortunately, a practice crash midweek, fractured both of his wrists. Unfortunate there for the PRMX team. Plus, they lost Cade Clayson to injury in Houston in the 450 class. But Logan Lights will join the team. He's been racing as a privateer in the 450 class with no team help. Now he's filling in for PRMX, just shy of a main event spot. He had some speed and got better in his races, but just a little bit short of the main event. Hopefully we can see the number 208 make his third start in the 250 class. In Seattle, Matty Jorgensen, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, missing the main event. He's had some LCQ heroics, but also 2D and Qs this season. Kyle Wise returned to action in his first start for the AEO Powersports KTM organization. Missed the first couple rounds due to an injury, but he was back briefly in transfer position as well during the LCQ, but fell back a little bit. Wise finally back healthy and on the bike. Great to see that. Lots of injuries and lots of crashes, DNFs in the last couple weeks in the LCQs. The CDF racing team, featuring German racers Nico Koch and Paul Bloy, had a rough weekend. They had some positive signs. Nico was riding solid, but unfortunately in the LCQ had some brake issues and pulled off due to not having any stopping power. And for Bloy, unfortunately, a big crash. Took a trip to the hospital. Thankfully, he was okay, though. No major injuries, and both of those guys will be back at Seattle Should be the last round for the CDF racing team, of course. Two German racers over here in America. 0 for 4 so far making main events for both of those guys. Maybe Seattle in their last chance, they can come through and put it in the top 22. Braden Spangle also went down hard this weekend, the privateer from Washington. Unfortunately, he'll be missing his home race. Went down hard, knocked himself out, and messed up his shoulder as well. Doctors told him there's no way he'll be able to race Seattle this weekend. Unfortunate for the number 113. An update on a guy from last week. We weren't sure what happened to him. We knew he went down in qualifying at Houston, talking about Dylan Schwartz from the Bar X Yamaha team. Schwartz sustained a broken rib and two broken vertebrae, but the diagnosis was positive according to the Toyota Redlands Bar X team, and said that he could be back as early as the 250 West Showdown round, or the 250 East West Showdown round in Birmingham, which is toward the end of March. So hopefully we see all of those guys who are currently injured back in action soon. Speedy recoveries to all of them. But that has been your 250 West division. Now we will shift gears and shift focus to the Premier Class, to the 450 ranks. Wadlock Honda's Joey Savacci once again the top privateer in the 450 class, and what a weekend, what a rebound for the number 17. He broke a toe at Houston just when you think his positive momentum is starting to come to an end, and then he puts together a fantastic day, start to finish at Glendale, strong in qualifying, in top 10 throughout. Plus, he even briefly jumped to number one on the board. He was leading the session, not for very long, but still hopping up to number one is a feat in itself when so many guys like Prado and Tomac were looking great all day long in qualifying. Speaking of Jorge Prado, Savacci was attached to the number 26 Red Bull KTM Factory Racing star all night long. In the heat race, heat number two, Prado got out front, Savacci in second. That's the order they stayed in, ahead of guys like Ken Roxon and Chase Sexton. Savacci finished second in the heat, only a second and a half back or so of Prado. Then in the main event, another good start, shadowed Prado all race long, sixth place finish. His third result of sixth or better this year, a fifth place run in San Diego, sixth at A2, now sixth at Glendale. Great run for Joey Savacci once again, shadowing factory guys all night and ahead of several factory guys. He was ahead of Sexton, Plessinger, Ferrandis, Marchbanks, Anderson. Of course, Tomac, we know he went down early, but Savacci beat all of those guys on Saturday night, and he is putting together one of his most impressive seasons so far. Hopefully, he can keep up the momentum as we start heading east a little bit. Top 10 finish for the first time in 2026 for Justin Hill aboard the Monster Energy Team Tedder KTM. I know Steve Mathis reported that Hill was feeling a little bit better. Of course, had dealt with some rib cartilage issues in the first few rounds, but he was in the top 10 and hovered around that range in qualifying, 10th in the main event. Great progress from Justin Hill. He'd been around 15th pretty much every race to start the year, but now he is trending back in the right direction, and it'll be great to see Hill in the top 10 fight more and more as the season progresses. The number 46 back in his usual range. Couple racers with some positive momentum, but Christian Craig, unfortunately, 14th, down early off the start. Of course, he got some flack for catching Eli Tomac, and naturally, passionate fan bases are going to give some flack when you catch their favorite rider in some carnage. But 14th for Craig, not quite what we were expecting after his improvement in Houston. Then right behind him, his teammate Shane McElrath. It was improvement though for Shane. He's been 18th these last three races. Now first top 15 of the year for McElrath, which is improvement. He won the LCQ as well, his second LCQ win of the year. Ran as high as 12th in the main event, but of course you had so many guys charging from the back like Eli Tomac that he got shuffled a couple spots down. Nonetheless, improvement from the number 12, and I know that's what he's been seeking and what he's been looking for. Behind him, 17th place, Colt Nichols was 16th. Vince Freezy on the ISRT Kawasaki. Brothers Jerky sponsoring that team this weekend in their one round sponsorship deals. Of course, they support the team all year. But it was a solid day from Vince. He was back to his usual starting ways. Almost pulls the whole shot in the heat race and actually scores the whole shot in his main event. 17th place, though, I'm sure not what he wanted exactly, but he was back to starting up front, kept it clean, no shenanigans, a good, solid weekend for the number 719. 18th place, welcome back to the main event, Freddie Noren on the Gizmo Racing Yamaha. First 450 start for that team this year. Freddie back in the mix. He's had a couple near misses and looked like he might be having a near miss again, but he snagged the final transfer spot in the LCQ late in the going. Freddie back in the show. Great to see him. 18th place, ahead of a few guys who've made some prior starts this season as well. 19th place, finally breaking the streak of 4 consecutive 20th place runs. I know it was only one spot higher, but it breaks up the monotony at least. Mitchell Harrison on the Partzilla Rocket PRMX Kawasaki. 5 for 5, plus he's 5 for 5 through the LCQ. Impressive start to the season for Mitchell Harrison in terms of qualification. Of course, a lot of very healthy, very talented racers toward the top half of the field. And Mitchell just keeps plugging away. Money Mitch living up to his name. 20th position. Back in the main event again. He made the show in San Diego. Struggled the last couple weekends, but he was back in it from the KMR Champion Tool Storage KTM organization. Grant Harlan, the number 62, was back in the show. He went through his heat race to qualify, and Hardog back in the mix, back in the show once again. Great to see some of these racers who've had some ups and downs to start the year back in the show. So we get to see Harlan scoring a couple points. Speaking of back in the show, his first main event since 2023, struggled in 24, skipped pretty much all year of 25 to get healthy, to get recovered, to get refocused, re energized. Josh Cartwright back in the mix. He's on his own effort again, the number 519 Kawasaki, with the help of some people like FMF and Power Sports in North Texas. But Josh Cartwright in his first main event in nearly 3 years. Awesome to see him back there. One of those guys who works during the week and competes in Supercross on the weekend. But he was finally back in a main event and scored a point. 21st place, back in the main event for the number 519. Now to some notes from right outside the main event. Shout out to Team VHR Yamaha and their guy Roman Pep. Is it Pep? Is it Pape? Is it Pope? Is it Pop? Once again, another one of those names where I've heard 15 million pronunciations, but the Frenchie, number 64, pulls the whole shot in the LCQ. Lost a little bit of ground and lost touch with those first four guys, but he's getting closer. Of course, he doesn't have a ton of supercross experience, mainly an outdoor guy, but it was great to see the number 64 fighting closer to the main event. Unfortunately, Kevin Moran's clipped his bike at one point and went down. Thankfully, Kevin is okay and will be back at Seattle. Some other guys making some improvements in there, like Anton Nordstrom, only a couple spots out of the main event. He has a 250 start before, but in his first full year of Supercross, really, and he's knocking on the door, getting closer to a 450 main event. Luke Kalatian making his first appearance of the year on the number 636. He's been racing a lot of arena cross rounds, and with the race so close, he was at the Glendale Supercross. Another guy with a prior main event start. Luke actually does have a 450 start, Anaheim 2, 2024. Then looking a bit further through the field, unfortunately, Tristan Lane suffering from the Rocky Mountain ATVMC privateer payout curse. And why do I say that? I say that because Rocky Mountain ATVMC privateer purse, privateer payout winners so far this year, 1 for 10 in transferring to the main event. That's not very good odds. Tristan looked like he was in position for it, clipped the rhythm, messed up, went down. He seems to be okay though, shaken up a little bit, but man, Tristan Lane was ripping. He was riding good. Looked like it could be two main events in a row for the number 711, but unfortunately, he was taking an alternate line through that back rhythm lane, went down, and he missed the show. Mitchell Harrison at Anaheim, too, the only guy who's been able to receive that privateer payout, qualify for the main event, and double it. And speaking of privateers who went down, unfortunately, Max Miller on the ISRT Kawasaki, the number 604, took a big fall during his second qualifying. Had his best qualifying run of the season, was top 20, but unfortunately went down. Had a fracture to his arm, messed up his leg a little bit too. I don't know the exact diagnosis of his injury, but Bubba Pauly did mention that both his arm and leg were affected in the ISRT team recap. Unfortunate for Max Miller. A great guy to talk to in the pits and a solid rider who's been having some decent runs in his first 450 Supercross season. Heal up soon, Max. We hope to see you back out on the track soon. Speedy recoveries to the number 604. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to part 5 of the Unsung Heroes for the 2026 season, recapping the top privateers and those who broke out at the Glendale Supercross. I am Trey Stire, your host. Catch us every week right here, wherever you're listening from. Also, find the written version of the articles if you prefer to read on treystire.wordpress.com. You can follow me on Instagram at TJStire3. That's TJSTIRE and the number 3. And of course, follow my podcast as well, The Stire Sound, at The Stire Sound Official on Instagram and The Stire Sound on most major platforms. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back next week to recap all of the action in the top privateers from Seattle. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great week.